What's up, everyone? Thanks for joining us this evening for a wonderful discussion on how to raise money for your business. I've been in business for many years now. I'm in the business of helping a lot of other businesses, and I can tell you this without a shadow of a doubt: the number one question that I continue to get over and over and over and over and over and over again is how to raise money for your business. And for the longest time, I would teach people how to do this for money. Teach them how to do it for exchange for money for their time. And tonight, we're going to teach you guys exactly how to do it for free. And I'm excited to be able to give this to you guys tonight. So follow along. If you guys have questions throughout, you should see a live chat button to the right. If you do, simply introduce yourself. Tell me who you are, where you're from, maybe the amount of money you're looking for, and some of the strategies that you've used to try to raise money so far, what's working, what's not. But I can tell you by the end of this, we're going to give you guys a ton of different opportunities and share with you guys different strategies on how to raise money for your business. So if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's get into this webinar. So today we're going to be talking about how to raise money for your business. You might have heard this as an angel round. Now, an angel round is usually $10,000 to $100,000, $250,000, maybe even up to $500,000. But usually people are writing checks somewhere around $10,000 to $100,000. It's typically from an accredited investor. An accredited investor is someone who makes $200,000 a year themselves with their spouse $300,000, or has $1 million of net value, not including their house. And typically this person or a series of people that have that kind of stat will put capital into your business. So that's typically what an angel round is. There's other things that you can do, and some of these strategies you can use to leverage other things like crowdfunding, credit cards, pre-sales with folks, friends and family. But really, tonight is not about those things, even though you can use some of the strategies for these pieces, but this is not really about that. All right, so why should you listen to me? That's me right there. I'm the enthusiastic founder of Hatch, which is about a 7-year-old business in Norfolk, Virginia. If you're not familiar where that is, Southeastern Virginia. I host a weekly business show on ABC, and I'm a recognized influencer in the startup community. There I am again in 2014. I won an award for my business, or my business won an award, top 10 to watch from the Chamber of Commerce. Hey, occasionally I wear a suit. I don't like to do that very much. Been on the power list of Inside Business for the most powerful and influential people in business, and I've been on the TED stage talking about a concept, a method, a platform that we call 1004. Also been featured in Entrepreneur Magazine. But look, before we get started, I'm going to tell you kind of the way that I think. I prefer bootstrapping and growing through customers. But I have personally raised $197,000 via 21 different investors. And I'm going to show you guys exactly how I've done that. I've helped out a ton of other businesses as well. Been able to raise significant amount of money, hundreds of thousands, 7 figures, and have invested in 13 companies myself. Some have done well, some have done poor. When I say poor, I mean they're done. Look, I have to give you guys a disclaimer. As much as I want to say that all these strategies will work, whenever money's involved, you just never know what's going to work and what's not. And so doing all this does not guarantee success, does not guarantee that it will be able to raise money for you, but it worked for me and the companies I've been associated with, so that we do have a track record of doing this, but just be careful. All right, so things to be thinking about. Remember, if you guys have questions about, all you have to do is ask in the live chat. Happy to answer any questions that you might have throughout. Thank you guys so much for being with us. So throughout this talk tonight, I'm going to go over things that an investor might ask you, or things that you need to be asking yourself. These are all things that I either did while I was doing this or wish I would have done looking back at this now. Do you really want or need an investor? I think a lot of people, when they start a business, they think that having an investor is kind of a necessity. I was at a meeting tonight, and I will be presenting my business in a pitch kind of competition. And one of the things that we will be judged on is your business investable? And even if it is or isn't, that's something that, do I really need an investor? Or are there other ways that I can do it? And I think sometimes people think they need an investor because they don't have money, instead of actually just going out and getting a customer. Cold hard truth right here, this is a marriage. So if you've been dating your significant other yet and you haven't proposed and you're afraid, like, this is going to be the same thing for your business. You're going to be with this person for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. Are you willing to be in a marriage with that person for that long? Even if you just met that person, this can be tricky as well. So just be careful. One thing that I love to say, and I'll say this to an investor when I talk to them, is I'm going to lose all your money. And I say that because if they think that there's no risk associated with it, what happens when you actually lose the money? Yeah, I want you to be ambitious and know that you're going to get a 400 times return. But what happens if you lose that money? Are you ready for that? I actually had to close down a business maybe this time last year. And when I did, I had to tell some of the investors. And it was emotional. It was tough. It was very tough. Does the person that you're talking with have a track record in your space? Meaning, is all they have is a checkbook, or do they have experience in the business that you're doing? Or are they better fit as a better fit as an investor, or are they a better fit as just an advisor? Sometimes people can give a check, but they can't really give advice, or they have no relationships in any of the things that you guys are doing. And I think that those are important to be thinking about. I know I've gotten checks before, and I knew they were just checks, and I was okay with that because the person's brand was good, or I was able to kind of take their name and get more money from it. But I think this is something where people think, oh, I'm going to get this investor and they're going to be great, when all they are is a check. And so you just got to be very cautious of that. Also understand that you might own 100% of your business right now. But if you get an investor, it's no longer just your business. Maybe it's 50-50, maybe it's 80-20, maybe it's 51-49, whatever it is, or any other number in between those two. Whatever it is, you don't own 100% anymore. And are you ready for that? Also, do you need money once, or do you need money a lot? Some people call this follow-on funding. What's important about this is, if you need follow-on funding, you need to be prepared that you're going to have to go through this over and over and over again. All right. Remember, do you actually need an investor? Is your business in the standard position to raise money? Now, there isn't a standard position per se, but there is what a lot of people are looking for. And depending on the group or the person that you're talking to, they're looking to write checks when you're in a specific phase of your business. That's why we call it the standard position. Or do you just need more customers? Sometimes people think that just because they raise money that they can get new customers. Well, what would happen if you don't raise that money, keep that equity, and just get more customers? Could you do that by picking up the phone? Could you do that by putting on a Facebook ad? Do you need the money for that? Could you just create a graphic? And so these are all hard questions that you need to be asking yourself about. Do you need an investor? And really, the investor is probably going to be asking you too. Not all businesses need capitals. Not all business need capital. They definitely need customers. Just because someone told you to raise money, this is one of my favorite things. Just because someone told you to raise money does not mean an investment is the right fit. Oftentimes people think that the amount of money that you've raised is the determining factor in whether or not you are successful or not. And I just don't agree with that. I'm going to say it again. Just because someone told you to raise money does not mean an investment is the right fit. It's a popular thing to do. It's a sexy term to do. It does not mean it's the right thing to do. So some things to be thinking about if your business is investable. Now, remember, if you guys have questions throughout, feel free to hit me up on the live chat or email me at zack@startwithhatch.com. So is your business investable? Does it have scale? Can it grow? Is it not? Typically, it's not a mom and pop shop, not an agency, so you're not building other businesses for other people. These are all things that you really need to be thinking about with an investor. And one of my favorite lines to tell people, and I would tell investors when I was reaching out to them, is, hey, we're gonna get here. We're gonna be successful, but it would be easier to do it with your money or the help with your money. And if we can get that, we're all going to be bloody rich. Oh yeah, by the way, I'm going to lose your money too. All right, so think about treating raising capital like selling to a customer. It's a process. It's a process that takes many steps. I'm going to show you all the steps in just a moment, but nothing's going to happen overnight. So you meet someone at a networking event, you say, hey, I want you to, give me $100,000 for my business. Do you really think that someone's going to do that just because they met you? No, it's a process. It's a long process. And one of the things that I love to preach and teach is something that I call problem, solution, traction. If you're putting together a slide deck, if you're putting together a opportunity for someone, I think you should answer 3 questions. And if you can't answer those 3 questions very strong, you don't have to answer any other questions. And those 3 questions, those 3 statements, those 3 answers are problem, solution, traction. What is the problem that you are solving? How are you solving it? What makes you special? And is anyone eating your dog food? Is there any validation? Is there any true traction to the things that you're saying? And if there are, that is when it's very lucrative for someone to say, hey, I'll give you $10,000. Hey, I'll give you $25,000. Hey, I'll give you $100,000. You have something proven. And if you have something proven by using this method, problem, solution, traction, it's very powerful. I use this so much that most people actually think they have to overdo this. Whether it's a pitch competition, a business plan, a straight up investor pitch, whatever it might be, those businesses that have used this and have really hit it strongly have better results. Problem. What is the problem that you're solving? What is the solution that you're actually doing, right? So the problem solving, solution to that problem. And then what traction do you actually have to this business? I think all too often people have 0 traction and say, oh, here, give me my money. And then they have no traction. If you have traction, you can raise money. Also, not just with the problem, solution, traction, but be thinking about who is your target customer. If you say everyone is your customer, likely you have no customer. And so it's important to try and say, hey, my customer is this person. They look like this. This is their demographic. This is where they hang out. Tell a story around that. Because then when that investor comes in, you can spend more money on that and invest into growing that segment. Or maybe there's other target segments that you can go after. So what type of business is a typical investor looking for? Now, there's a lot of different options here. And you'll see, maybe it's a capital efficient business, someone that needs many 6 figures, 7 figures of business just to run. Maybe it's a certain social mobile location business, internet business. Maybe it's a simple revenue model, transaction subscriptions. SaaS is really big right now, affiliate. Do you have a functional prototype, before investment or proven success? And small but measurable usage. So we were talking about traction before. One thing that I think is really important about that is, do you even know that this works? And is my money going to be worth it as an investor? That's something that I think can be very, very, very important. And if you don't have some sort of validation throughout this process, I think it's something that investor is going to look at as way more risky. So try to have some traction. Small but functional, cross-functional team. Don't have a bunch of business people with no engineers. If you have a tech business, don't have a bunch of engineers without business people. Those are all things that are important. I do think it's important to not be raising money to bring on those specific big business people in your team. Celeb Entertainment says, how do you value a seasoned startup? Do you mean, how do I value, like, what is the value of that business? Like, what is it worth? Or do you mean something else? Can you give me a little bit more clarity? Celeb Entertainment, thanks. Traction. So again, don't just give a piece of paper. Oftentimes someone will hand over a piece of paper and say, oh, this is what my business is. Now give me money for this business, right? They want to see that you have some sort of traction. Prove that you have traction. It doesn't have to be huge, but show that you have some sort of traction. Tell them that you're going to accomplish their goals, but faster if you give them some sort of infusion of capital. Meaning you're going to get there with them quicker, and that can be important. So Celeb Entertainment says pre-money valuation. So what I would do is I would see what other businesses in a similar situation to you are doing and value on there. If you have some sort of traction, you can look at things like EBITDA, 2-3 times EBITDA. Those are some things that can be a good way to value. Valuing a company is very difficult. And even people who evaluate companies for a living will tell you it's very, very difficult. Sometimes you're buying what the actual brand is worth. Maybe you have a patent on something. Maybe you have some team members that are worth a lot. So you made $50,000 this year. What could that $50,000 look like? It's not just about, as crazy as this seems, it's not just what you made this year. It could be that you made that money this year, but you're only tapping one part of the market, right? And so that 50,000 could be, it's really worth 2.5 million because you're just hitting Cheyenne, Wyoming, right? And if you take the exact same product and release it to the rest of the country, what else could you be doing with that? And so what is the actual branding worth piece of it? Maybe you have a very strong email list or social following. Is there a dollar amount associated with that? And so it's very difficult. And even the most seasons of vets who do this for a living will tell you your company is valued at what someone will buy it for. And I don't mean that to beat around the bush and not give you a solid answer, but honestly, at the end of the day, that's the answer. Is it's worth what someone's willing to pay for it. Now, are you will, if you say it's $2 million, $1 million, $500,000, whatever it might be, start throwing out some feelers. And in a couple of moments, I'll tell you guys kind of some other strategies and ways to figure that out. But the answer is very, very difficult to get to that number. So where are some places that you can find investors? One site that's really good is called angel.co. All you have to do is type angel.co, C-O, or type angel list in Google, and they both will come up. Google Angel Group in your city or angels in your city. So if you're in my city, Angel Group in Norfolk, Virginia, Los Angeles, Cheyenne, Wyoming, that works wonders. Here's one that's really good. In Celeb Entertainment, one way that I might try and get that valuation too is you literally are choosing a number, and I'm as ridiculous as it seems. So we have a company right now that's looking to sell, and they want one number. The accountant, bookkeeper, CPA is telling them a different number. The other business is telling them, a different number. They're all kind of in the same ballpark. And I think what will happen is they'll take the three numbers and kind of divide it and figure out, what's in the middle, and that's the number they'll go with. In some instances, people are going for the lowest number possible, right? That's what they want. But when you're selling, you want the highest number possible. And so there's a lot of negotiations back and forth, and it can be very, very tricky, consuming, daunting task. Like it's a pain. It can really be a pain. And like for me, like I would sell my business right now, sure. And I know the number that I want for my business. Do other people value it at that? I don't know, but that's the number that I would like, right? So, what you think, what's realistic, all those things can be a challenge. A great way to find investors in your community is to ask everyone for referrals, ask other entrepreneurs, bankers, consultants, accountants, lawyers. These are all people who are working with wealthy people every day. And typically they have a good list of contacts for people who are doing this. And so I would ask them to introduce you to other people. Asking for referrals can be a huge thing. And I don't always advise to do this next thing, but meet with everyone, because you never know where that's going to go. You never know where that next step could go. And someone might know someone very wealthy, and just because you met with them for coffee, that can go a long way. You also want to make sure that you do your due diligence before and after with everyone that you meet. I think that's really, really important. Lots of dinners, meetings, networking. It can be long days, 7 a.m. breakfast, 5 p.m. drinks and dinner, and, late nights on doing chats like this. I think they're all really important. And, getting on LinkedIn or angel.co or different places and finding out people that are looking to invest, finding, having conversations with your lawyers, accountants, consultants, all those things can be very, very impactful. Joining specific groups. I don't think you're going to find great places through blogs or posts on Facebook. So don't be looking there for them. And I think one thing that's really, really important, and I think we celebrate this we celebrate this incorrectly a lot, but raising capital is not the end goal. It's getting that capital to then be able to do more with your business from it. And if raising capital is the goal, the end goal, you're probably not going to see a lot of success. So just be cautious if that's your thing, and start changing your mindset where I need to get this money to be able to do these other pieces. And I provided this webinar to a group of mine a few days ago, and one person was thinking so differently on what they needed. And then at the end of this talk, I was able to show her that she actually needed significantly less, and she actually had things in her wheelhouse that would be easier for her to actually raise that capital. And so I'm hopeful this is a great opportunity for you as well. All right, so what type of paperwork will you need? This is where it gets really nitty gritty and a real pain in the butt. You probably need a business plan depending on who you're talking to. A great site to do that, if you actually go to startwithhatch.com/YBS, we have a thing called Your Business Snapshot. You can just Google that, Your Business Snapshot, or startwithhatch.com/YBS. And it gives you a really good start to do that, really kind of the ins and outs stuff. What are you going to spend the money on? If you're raising $100,000 and $100,000 of that is going towards your salary, I've seen it before. That's not probably going to be something that someone wants to see. Go to market plan. So that's like how are you going to get it to market? In executive summary, we have all this stuff on 1004. An executive summary is a cleaner way of looking at your business snapshot, I guess. It's a way for you to, in one document, say, hey, this is what I'm going to give to my bank. You also might need a private placement memorandum, which is a pretty hefty document, can be fairly expensive, at least 4 to 5 figures, sometimes more. Legal document that is typically produced when any capital raise is in place. It basically crosses the T's, dots the I's, and makes sure that whoever is raising money and whoever is providing money, everything and anything about the business at that point. You might need an operations agreement, depending on if you are a single member, 100% owner, you probably didn't have to put together an operations agreement to start, but now you might have to. And the real pain in the butt about all this stuff is they get expensive quickly, depending on who you hire to produce it, or if you produce it yourself, the time associated with that. And some of these things are legal documents, so you have to pay them. And, who's going to pay for this stuff? And so usually in a typical raise, 10 to 20% is going towards legal. So if you're raising $100,000, 10 to 20% of that is actually going to go towards legal fees. And that's annoying. It's a pain, but you got to figure out who's paying for that. And I've seen it both ways, where both sides are paying for the legal work. Slow Entertainment says, how should you introduce your company to an angel, and how much info should you give the first intro, like a website, pitch deck, perspectives? Should you email or have a hard copy ready? Yeah, we're going to go over a couple of those things in a little bit, but I think some of the things that are really important is just creating that relationship with someone. Depending on if you're asking for a referral, there can be, hey, this person's looking to raise money. They might have met you at a pitch competition, a 1 million cups, a startup night, a business plan competition, a school business plan competition, so they might be, depending on where you are in the context of this situation, you might be able to share more with someone earlier. If you bombard someone with, all this paperwork to start and, hey, I want you to give me $1 million, they might not like that. So I think some of the key things are really about creating relationships too. And if you don't create those relationships, like I talked about earlier, you're getting married. This is a wedding. This is a long process. And I think it's almost as important to make sure that the person or the people that you're looking to raise money from are a good fit for you, and not just about the money. And so I would have all those things on hand, but you don't necessarily have to provide them to them all the time. Sometimes people want to know that, hey, this thing is working a little bit, you're making a little bit of money, and I like you, and that's it. As crazy as it seems, that is sometimes all you need to do. I know that I've raised money like that, and they liked what I was doing, they liked me, and they liked that we had a little bit of traction, and so the checks were easy to get. And then one other legal term or series of terms is common stock versus preferred stock. Basically, preferred stock is what a lot of people want, but they don't get. Preferred stock is a class of ownership. This is a legal term in a corporation that has a higher claim on its assets and earnings than common stock. Preferred shares generally have a dividend that must be paid out before dividends to common shareholders, and the shares usually do not carry voting rights. So what this means, I'm not a lawyer, but what this means is if you were to sell the business or you had to close the business, the people who have preferred stock will get that cash first. Typically, the more money that you are raising in your business, these people are going to ask for preferred stock. Common stock basically means that if things go bad, you're the last people to get money. Common stock is a security that represents ownership in a corporation. Holders of common stock exercise control by electing a board of directors and voting on corporate policy. Common stockholders are on the bottom of the priority ladder for ownership structure. In the event of liquidation, common shareholders have the rights to company's assets only after bondholders, preferred shareholders, and the other debt holders have been paid in full. So if you owe all those things to other people and you're a common stock, you're SOL. All right, the step-by-step. So you figured out who you want, right? So you found out that you have a couple of people through your network that you think are the right fit. You want to get the meeting. You simply just reach out and say, hey, I'd like to meet you for breakfast. We have a business opportunity. Here's a great way to say this, Celeb Entertainment. We have a business opportunity that I think could be something of interest to you. I'd love to share it with you. I think you should be blunt and honest. And if you're looking for a investment, I think you should say, hey, we have a business opportunity. We're exploring with different people. Would love to meet with you and show you what we have working and maybe how we can bring you on. What I don't like is when people on LinkedIn email me and are like, hey, I'd love to chat for a couple of minutes. And that's it. I'm like, okay, chat about what? Oh, well, we're looking to raise money for my business. And I'm like, why didn't you just tell me that? And so it just, I think you need to be very honest with people up front. If you, and it's better for your time too, right? So if you're like, hey, we have a business opportunity, we're looking to add people to it, think that you're a good fit, you're just being honest and it's better. So then once you have the meeting, show them what you got. So in your case, Celeb Entertainment, hey, we made $50,000 this year. This is what we're doing. This is why it's important. Then gauge their fit, whether you're talking to them on the phone, email, in person, are they interested? Ask them that question. Hey, like, we're looking to raise $250,000. Is that the type of check that you want to write? Or, somewhere, between $10,000 and $25,000, excuse me, $10,000 to $250,000, and maybe you can bring your friends on with it. Like, you got to gauge those fits. And I think that range is actually, it's a bad thing to do. And I'll share with you in a second why. But it's so difficult to, keep having conversations with people if you haven't even engaged, if they're interested. And I think you just need to ask. And then obviously once you have a meeting with them, follow up and say, hey, were you interested? Here's everything that I showed you. And you'll be able to gauge that fit, and then potentially going to make that deal, and then rinse and repeat. So that's kind of the way that it would go down for a specific deal. And if you were, you raising $100,000 by 10 people, you would have to do that multiple times. And so that's where the rinse and repeat is, over and over and over again. If you go to an angel group, or you go to a group of people that invest in businesses together, there's definitely that's definitely a lucrative thing. Maybe 3 or 4 or 5 of them come on together, and so then you would half of it you would have done. So this is where I think you need to do, let's think about the due diligence in the potential investors. Now, I know you're excited about raising money and getting money and a check from someone, but you have to understand and make sure that it's the right fit. The last thing that you want is to have a marriage with someone that's not the right fit. Maybe they're a complete tool and you just don't like them. And you wish you would have known that, but you're too money hungry that you didn't have those conversations. And I think these are things that are important and that you need to ask. So due diligence in the potential investors. These are the people that you're raising money from. Do they have a track record of being an investor, or is this the first check they've ever written? Do they have expertise in their field? So do they know what they're talking about? Have they ever written a check before? I'd be afraid to get a check from a first timer. Can they help more than cash? Meaning, can they provide more value? Also, can they give you more money if they need to? Whether from them or access to more experts in cash. Like, do they have a network plus more money available? Are they going to be a silent investor? I have 21, 23 investors in some of the things that I've done. Most of them are silent. And it's great because I don't have to deal with them. I love them though. Also, are they qualified and an accredited investor? I think that's something that is important. If you talk to your uncle who's broke but is willing to give you $5,000, what happens if you lose their money? Well, if you lose it, they might lose everything. But if you find a uncle who's wealthy, what's $5,000 to them? Nothing. And how much can they invest? When we talked about gauging that fit earlier, can they invest anything? Have that conversation early. In many cases, you might have to have a meeting with someone to get to another meeting with someone. Some, meeting with your accountant to figure out who could be a good fit to potentially invest money in your business. And then things that investors will be looking at you and your business. So what are they going to want to know? Not only are they going to look for paperwork, but they're going to probably want to see your books, documentation, your process. Do you have any of that stuff done? Are you an investable company? So we talked about the 5 or 6 different types of investable companies they might be looking at. Do you have special sauce, right? The lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun, Big Mac. Do you have something like that? Are you the special sauce? Is your brand? These are all things that they're going to want to know about you. Do you have a team of people, or is it just you? Have you figured out that team part yet? Do you have a track record? Does that team have a track record of success? These are all things that are important. Age, are you young? Are you old? As hard as it is for me to say this, if you're older, older, maybe you don't have the ins and outs to really push it the way that, someone younger would potentially want. And so I think you see there is an age gap in people in getting invested in. Do you have a company that can return 2 to 10 times return in 3 to 5 years? Maybe more. Do you have skin in the game? Do you actually have money in the game? Do you have anything like that? These are all important things. Again, how will you spend the money? They're going to ask you that. Well, what are you going to spend the money on? If you don't have an answer for that, well, I need the money. I don't know. That's what they're going to be like, you sound like a moron. Proof of concept, that's validation again. Do you have this? Target market, who are you going to be spending this money on? What do you know about them? Where do they hang out? How do they talk? Product market fit, is the target that you've seen been actually validated, and is the market ready and primed for you? Timing is There's a TED Talk out there that says that timing is like 42% of your business success. And product market fit is really about timing. All right, things that can help you. How do you meet these people? We talked about that, asking people for referrals, go to networking events, ask your the people that you already pay service providers. Do you have a script that you need for them? If you're reaching out to them, I think less is more. Simply say, hey, I have a business. We're looking to grow. We're interested in finding people to bring on. We'd love to show you what we're working on. Can we meet next week for breakfast at, XYZ time? Thanks, Zach. Obviously then after you have a conversation with them, make sure that they are the right fit. Create that ask. That ask does not have to be at that first meeting, second meeting, third meeting. Do your due diligence. Make sure it's the right fit. I'm a firm believer in everything happens for a reason, so slow things down. Don't ask for a range. So don't ask for, I need $10,000 to $25,000. No, say I need $10,000. If you give a range, you look like a moron. Do you want to raise from one person or multiple people? If you ask one person for $100,000 and you lose it, what's that like? Or if you lose $10,000 from 10 people, what's worse? What are their terms? What do they want? And are they looking at potentially providing your money in milestones? One thing that I learned while investing in businesses is I think investing in milestones is a better approach. That might not be something that you want, but from an investor standpoint, it's better. And so some people call this tranches. Basically, it's saying that if you hit these specific goals, these specific milestones, these specific predetermined data points, I'll then give you another round of money, 25, 25, 25, 25 for $100,000. And so they promise it, but you have to hit those milestones. And sometimes it's milestones and, specific key metrics and a specific time. One thing that I think is also is lost in a lot of this is looking for a lead investor. So let's say you're raising 100K, finding someone that'll give 50, because then you can find 10 people for 5 or 5 people for $10,000. It's just a great fun way to leverage someone else's name and have someone be like, oh yeah, we already have so-and-so. Other people want to follow. Yes is only a yes when the paperwork is signed and the money is in your account. There's been plenty of people who told me that they would give me money and they never did. Handshakes, emails, face-to-face, and then the money never came. So a yes is only a yes when the paperwork is signed and the money is in your account. So let's say you actually have the deal done. And this could be done before as well. But you want to set expectations to when the deal is done. When and how to communicate. Are you going to, once a month, once a quarter, once a year, whatever it is, via email, text, phone, whatever? What are the metrics that you'll be sharing so they'll know exactly what to be looking for? Do they have board seats, multiple board seats? Are you giving those out? Don't spend all your money at once. Have a rainy day fund. And again, kind of a recap. Does your business need funding? Are you investable? Are you, after looking at all the things we just talked about, are you still investable? Are you a whale? Are you something that a business is looking or an investor is looking to jump on? Are you a unicorn? Right? These are all things. Are you going to become that next Silicon Valley unicorn, a billion-dollar business? Can you return 5 to 10 in 3 to 5 years? Can you? These are all things that they're going to ask. And then skin in the game. So different levels of financing. We talk about angels a lot. These can be things that fit into an angel round, your own money, credit cards from there, crowdfunding, friends and family, angel investor. The range, depending on who you talk to, the range is, anywhere from 5 to 500Ks, maybe even a little higher, maybe a little lower. VCs are, $500,000, $1 million or more. Banks in some cases are providing capital. There's a bank in my area that gave a significant amount of money to an early stage business for about 30% of the business. So they are doing that. And then obviously alternative funding, crowdfunding. You guys heard about that. Indiegogo, Kickstarter, There's also like Angel has these syndicates where people can, if you're looking to invest in companies, a syndicate might be a good way for you to get onto something because these syndicates have a lot of investors involved with them, and they are able to basically follow on more famous investors, I guess. You can have funding events where like you invite a bunch of people over for dinner and say, hey, I want you to give me money for my business, or you could host an event for your business. Depending on what you're trying to do, the SBA, the Small Business Association, they have some lending programs through specific banks. Depending on who you talk to, those are really, really difficult to get. Grants, so maybe there's some grants out there. Instead of raising money, you could just win a grant. There's a lot of really wild grants out there, and it's, I don't know, basically free money. And I think one thing that you really need to think about is, do you only need cash because you're broke? Be honest. And if you need that money because you're broke, you're probably not going to get that investor. You need to start making some money and then show them that you have something lucrative. Celeb Entertainment says a lot of people say they will charge 5 to 30K to get you ready to raise money in a private placement, even though you have a perspective already done by an attorney. Yeah, I mean, it can be expensive. I remember one time I was raising like 100K, and lawyer at the time was like, "Oh, I'll do a PPM for you for 10K," and it wasn't necessary. And so it can get expensive, and make sure that the paperwork that you have is what people want, and don't spend money on things that aren't necessary, because you can very quickly be putting together some of these documents and just lose everything. Again, what are you going to spend the money on? Staff, marketing, maybe you're consolidating some debt, paying off some debt, infrastructure. Infrastructure could be the SBA loan, new location. Maybe you're franchising, you're growing into something yourself. You got to pay yourself. I actually think that one thing most business owners don't do enough is saying how much they're going to pay themselves, positive or negative. I think that's important. And again, do you really want a marriage? I think that's something that at the end of the day, you have to think aloud about. Some other questions that we've had in the past. So what if you need funds for improvements? Those are things that your bank might be able to give you, or you might be able to raise a little bit of money on through friends and family. An angel round probably isn't that. Prashant says, I'm thinking of raising a seed round via friends and families to build initial MVP. I'll try and get that initial MVP out without having to pay for it. If possible. Kenya says, for my business, I was thinking of Kickstarter to buy more tools. It's a great way, to do that, but make sure that what people are looking for in your business is that. And Prashant says, shouldn't we raise capital from VC when we're ready to scale? Yeah, I mean, I think VC, they're higher ticket items. That's when you really understand a lot of things in your business, and they're betting to hit those next steps, and they're investing 7, 8, 9, 10 figures to see significant growth, and that's when you would see that scale. So that's it for tonight, guys. I really appreciate your time. I'd love to learn more about your business and what you're working on. Together this quick little link through a tool that I use called Calendly. And what's cool about Calendly is it allows me to show you when I have a couple of minutes to have a conversation with you. And all you have to do is find out when it's good for your schedule. So all you have to do is go to this link. It's calendly.com/Zach Miller84, 10 minutes. And you go there, and I'd love to just have a conversation with you and learn what you're doing on your business. It's free. Don't worry about anything like that. We'll just love to learn like some of the things that you're going through with your business and how it's been going. So Celeb Entertainment would love for you to go to that link and love to learn more about you and your business. Celeb Entertainment says, it's my experience that SBA are hard to get unless you are in a situation where you have factoring assets or sales, but not for a startup. Or did we just approach the wrong thing as a startup? It's SBA, as I'm learning more about SBAs, they're for very specific things. I think the numbers are 701 and 504. something like that. And they're for very specific things like real estate plays and growth in a business. And so, yeah, you are kind of right that a startup might not be the right fit. It's something like, and please don't quote me on the numbers, but they're going to basically match 50% of the number, or they're going to guarantee 50% of the number. The bank will do 40% and you'll do 10% or something like that. And so, the SBA isn't in the world of taking risk. And so neither are really banks. And so that's why these things are more difficult. But I've seen that, if you find the right bank, I think if you're looking at going that route through the bank or an SBA, I think you should be pretty honest with the people early and say, hey, like, is this something of interest? I know that in my time, I've asked my bank, like, hey, I'm looking to do this. Is this something that you'll give me a loan for? And I'm just like, don't make me waste my time. Don't make me put together all this paperwork for no reason. Just tell me. And, sometimes they say yes, sometimes they say no. And so when they say no, I don't have to do anything. When they say yes, I put together the paperwork and they give me the cash. And so we got an SBA. I do have businesses that have, and it is hard. But there are strict requirements they're looking for. And I think that it's something that if you follow those requirements, you can get that money, and it's easier. They actually can give you more money too. I think the second round of it or something, or they give up to like $2 million or something like that. One other thing, depending on what you're doing, is SBIR. There's 2 levels of that. I think up to 200K and then up to 2 million or something like that. Like, there's a lot of cash out there. And if you have the right type of business, significant capital to be able to grow and improve your business. So again, would love to have a conversation with you. All you have to do is go to that link, calendly.com/Zach Miller 84/10MIN, or if you're looking at the show notes, simply click that link, and I would love to set up a conversation with you just to learn about your business, what you're working on, and stuff like that. So I appreciate your time. If you're on the East Coast, it's almost 9 o'clock. So I hope you guys have a great night, and thank you guys so much for being with me tonight. If you guys have any other questions about any of the stuff that we talked about, simply hit me up on email. It's Zach, ZACK at. I really appreciate your time, and thank you so much for being with us tonight. Have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you soon. Take care.